Wow, yo, yippee, yay, guys. It's part number 21, and I'm super excited to be with you guys today. As always, we will not dig dive into the love of the community and then talk about what's happened on SwissBorg network. But as I'm on vacation, I said, I'll think about different questions about, of course, SwissBorg, the community, how our board could go into different decentralization, as we're doing on Solana, think about a lot of different things. And I had a few talk with different people and talking about crypto and all that. And people don't always have this negative perception at first. And then, like most of you guys, start to understand and invest, become ambassadors eventually. And I think so what's very important here to talk about is value itself. So in this specific powwow while I'm in vacations, but of course I had to do a video for you guys, I was thinking, let's try to talk about what is value and how value has changed over the last centuries and how value is perceived today into Web3, if that's okay with you. So my name is Cyrus Frizzell, the proud founder and CEO of SwissBorg, always here to serve you, and let's get ready to rumble. If you look at value, it has changed tremendously over the centuries, right? When we started to bring in money, right, which came from, I think, so from China, it has evolved in so many different ways, right? Commodities was obviously something, a big, huge thing. Banknotes started to come in, then the gold standard came in. And you see that currencies has always changed. But you could as well see that, like, at some time during Magellan's time, you know, pepper was as rich as gold. And perception of value is completely different when it comes from a human being to another human being. From a person from this culture to another culture, it changes a lot. But the thing what has happened, I mean, I would say in the saddest way, is that a lot of currencies that have been dominating the world were always dominated by strength. We're not always betted by great vision. It was really more by the dictatorship type of thing, or at least somebody saying like, okay, you're gonna adopt my currency because I have a strong military force. And that has been done. Like 19th century, if you look at the strongest currency of all time, what was it? Obviously, it was the British pound, because the British pound back in the 19th century had one of the strongest army and had the strongest territory throughout the world, and that every trade will have to happen in British pounds. If you look what happened, you know, starting the First World War, and even more importantly, the Second World War with the Marshall Plan, well, the US dollar became the thing. Because the US dollar, when they saved the world in the Second World War, started indebting all these different countries, starting to say, okay, well, now you have to buy essentially bonds that are US Treasury dollars. The Plan Marshall was really about essentially making sure that the dollar would be the money for trading. And what you've seen since the Plan Marshall has been pretty much the same thing. The US dollar has been able to essentially fragilize the world and say like, oh, you guys have to trade in US dollar. And if you always trade in US dollar, what you're essentially doing is that you're essentially making sure that people are investing to the US dollar, right? You're making volume happen, but you're making as well people buying into bonds. You're actually as well giving dollars in terms of credit to these different countries. And the IMF, for example, is exactly doing that, right? So you see that the dollar has been a very, very huge weapon for the US to essentially be able to create this fundamental value where everyone says like, oh, the dollar is something that is very important. The dollar is something that we could count on. And we trust in that dollar. And this is something that's very, very important of what is happening currently. We see that, you know, the BRICS was obviously the bad boys, you know, we're talking about Brazil, Russia, China, and those guys. We're seeing that they're trying right now to essentially say like, okay, well, we're a bit fed up of this thing. Let's start trading in our own currency because, well, first, we're not even able to do dollars. Second is like, why should we always do everything to dollars? You saw Saudi Arabia trying to do that. You saw Abu Dhabi trying to do that a year ago. And right after what happened is they had a visit that came into place and said like, oh, this is not good, right? This is not the way that this should be perceived. We want you to go back to our dollar because it's very important that you trade in our dollar. And if you go even further than that, right or not, what just happened recently with the BRICS after signing this new accord, the president of Iran just, perished. So what I'm saying here is that, not necessarily to go into what the dollar is a good or not currency, is that value is changed over time, right? And a lot of different countries or geographic regions have tried to do that. The euro has really tried to bring a lot of value with no war, just by trying to unite people and say like, okay, let's have this currency that we're together, that we all agree. It has worked to some extent, but unfortunately has brought different type of, let's say, peers that were not as, let's say, bringing as much value creation than other countries, such as Germany, France, and whatsoever, right? So you had, unfortunately, some countries, like you say, the pigs, right, that were not creating as much as value, and other, they were sucking more value than that. And we see that, 20 years later than the euro was created, is it a big success? Well, hard to say. And then the last one, which is now the Swiss franc, which has been, and this is again very, very important for you guys to know, because I think so we're going to be launching the Swiss franc stablecoin hopefully soon. I mean, not launching it, but helping a project to launch it through SwissBorg, and of course on Solana. The Swiss franc, contrary to any other currency around the world, it has been overperforming every currency out of the last 100 years. Like when I got to, when I started my first job at Julius Baer in banking in 2007, the euro to the Swiss franc was 160. I think so now it's like, I shouldn't say it, but around my head, it's not even at parity. It's probably at 90, right? 90 cents right now. So it was one euro was 1 franc 60. Today is 1 euro. 1 euro is 90 cents a Swiss franc, which is so low. And if you go to the dollar, it's even worse overall all the time. So you see that one currency actually has done very well. And the reason is Switzerland has been playing this card extremely well in a very democratic way, where essentially they see that the country is doing great. The GDP growth is great. The inflation is very small. There's a printing of Swiss francs is very small. The National Bank of Switzerland is essentially a hedge fund. It's one of the biggest holder of essentially of not only gold, but of Apple stocks. Nvidia has a big position. They are managing essentially their treasury in a way that they're not indebting other countries with their currency. They're not forcing people to trade Swiss francs, but they just see that it's a country that is winning its own bubble, creating a lot of value. And then this is something that is very important. It's that whereas a lot of countries have said, okay, the best way to essentially grow your economy is with wars or intimidation, some country have done this extremely well and has not essentially been able to deliver very well. So that's the first thing about currencies. And now you see that Bitcoin, right, for the last 15 years is trying to change this game. It's trying to do something that's very much different, which is not saying like, oh, we should try to outsmart the fiat system by creating a new country and by creating new weapons around it and pushing people into it, enforcing people into it. It's like, no, what if anyone could take part of it, but there's no political agenda? I think so this is something that's very important. Number two is that there's a strong economical though agenda. And that's what's so beautiful about it, is that it's based in a way where you have essentially miners that are rewarded in a very fair way. And there's a circular economy that could work very well, which is borderless, transparent, passportable, and most important, that you own this. It's a good way as well to see how you could be able to extract essentially energy in the most efficient way in the world. And one of the most efficient ways, not only in terms of decentralization, in terms of security, but as well in economy of costs. Bitcoin is the best way to calculate how much energy costs in the most, in the cheapest way possible. So we do all agree on the fact that, Bitcoin is the world currency, right? Is it the best way for right now to be able to exchange goods and be able to essentially buy things? No, it's not today. We're seeing with Lightning, there's a lot of things happening, but we definitely do all agree together that it is the best currency for any citizen around the world. And that has to really, be put in our minds. And it's very important. Bitcoin is the international gold standard. It's the best, most trusted technology and currency today. It's still not adopted by everyone, but it's just a matter of time. It really is just a matter of time. Like, it's like thinking about internet and saying that, oh, well, yeah, internet has not really, the speed is not good enough. The web pages are not good enough. There's not so much domain. And we're talking about this in the early 2000s. 10 years later, it looks like everyone was on it. And today it looks like, everyone is on it and lives through it. And nothing could work without internet today. And I think so Bitcoin will get more and more into this era where, you will probably be able to actually use it as a regular currency. I strongly do believe that. There's no doubt about that, especially more as we see countries adopting it and national governments saying like, you know what, at the end, let's do it. I mean, every bank now has Bitcoin in their balance sheet. It's just, it's just going to happen sooner than later, right? So, and everyone's going to be owning some Bitcoin in their portfolios. It goes to the second part right now, which is, Bitcoin has shown the world that few techies and then few other peoples throughout cycles, this is the fourth cycle, so it does take time, but you could actually change the perception of value. And finally is the first time around the world that people are getting together and saying, you know what, the big banks, you didn't help us. Mr. Financier, you've been making so much money with taking so much fees or just not allowing us to invest by ourselves. It really is changing, right? The ability of investments is open to anyone, and it should be open to anyone. You could always say, like a lot of people as well, whenever you meet, and that, they're like, oh, Bitcoin, oh no, this is too difficult. Oh no, this is too complicated. No, I don't want to do investment. People invest in only the things that they use, right? You invest, for example, in your car for status. You invest in a house to go live in it. But people usually don't invest so much into stocks or whatsoever because they say, oh, it's too complicated. No, it's not. It is not at all. You just buy the S&P, for example, or the NASDAQ, and you just sit on it forever. Or you just buy the SMI if you're in Europe, or, the CAC 40 if you're in France, and you just sit on it. That is not difficult. The difference is that a lot of people have saying to everyone that, oh, you want to invest, well, there's some leverage products, we have disruptor products. Oh, well, I'll explain you what a Sharpe ratio and all of that and this and that, and try to bring a lot of jargon to make you say, don't do it by yourself. Don't do it. You're going to lose all your money. But if you give me the money to it, it's okay. I'll take a very handsome fee and I'll do it for you. I understand, of course, that many people are going to say like, oh, I don't have the time. But that's not true either. You scroll 20 minutes per day on a lot of different videos that don't bring any value to yourself. You just put that even 5 minutes per day, just look at what's happening is good enough. It's not going to be telling you the best investment. You're not going to become the best trader, but you don't need to do that. You'll still be able to understand the different cycles that we repeated multiple different times. And we know right now we're in this ascension of the bull market, right? We're still early in the bull market, but we probably have less than a year then. And a year from now, probably markets will correct in a nice way. So what I'm saying here, which is very important, is that people have not been able to invest until today. Like maybe in the US, some culture a little bit more, maybe in the UK, some cultures have been like more into investments. But moreover, every country around the world, is a lot of people have been letting just people invest for themselves. And this is what I think is so important about SwissBorg, is really controlling your wealth in so many different ways. Being able to invest in the assets that you want, being able to withdraw the assets, send them into wherever you want to do, go into DeFi or whatsoever, or in your non-custodial, wallet, and you could keep it and save it in whatever bank you want. It doesn't really matter, but you're able to freely do that in the best way. I think so this is something that's very important. And the revolution of Web3 is this, is how you could own essentially your status, how you could own your portfolio, how you could own your data, and how you could own your legacy and pass it over and over and show the world that you were able to do this. It's this beautiful trophy board that you finally be able to be proud of and saying like, yeah, I invest in this, this, and this, and that, and that. And I'm laughing because recently some people have sent me a lot of different these meme tokens, and some of them are really funny. But I was like, I can't invest in that. It's just the name is too wrong for me to invest in. Nothing racist whatsoever. It was just funny things. And I was like, no, I don't want to have that trace on my wallet because then, whatever, maybe 200 years from now, people see what Cyrus was investing. Be like, okay, that was like a weird one. Maybe back then was funny, but now it's weird, right? So I was like, no, I don't want to do that one. But it was funny though. And I think so. This is something that is very, very important, which gets to the meme tokens and GameStop. All of these tendency or these NFTs, right, which were just the previous cycle, I would say. All of this is not just pumping tokens. There's definitely a huge amount of pumping, and people obviously want to make a lot of money doing this. But that's not the only thing. What I believe what it is, it's these meme tokens, this Bitcoin, SwissBorg token, any token at the end, or any GameStop is about being able to swarm in an army and to show the world that we believe this has value. Then you can fundamentally, do money calculations, but at the end, even if that's very important, the end message is we believe this has value. This is what it is. And I think so, with SwissBorg, we tend to have a very, a more intellectual part because we're definitely European. And many of you listening probably have good financial knowledge, and we're in wealth management game and all that. So it has this Swiss thing. So it has all this, great thing about it. But what is very important is that we show at this end, this has value, that has a lot of value for us. And we are going to be able to create an army around us. You see that army, by the way, of beautiful birds of Ticino. Create this army and essentially be able to go to whatever planet we want with this army. And this is something that's fundamental. And this is why at the end, the Shibas, the Dodges have worked very well, but Bitcoin as well. And at the end, we could have a lot of fundamental value to Bitcoin, and it's true. The calculation of the energy, the fact that people have all these investments in terms of mining rigs and whatsoever, but at the end, it's just we believe there's value in it. Even if there's more investment and you could take out other graphs to show that this is nicer and this you own this property whatsoever. But what's funny and very important is at the end is how we today perceive it. And going back to these different memes, I strongly believe that it's a great thing. It's a great thing because it's fun, fair, community centric. I repeat myself, but it's fun, it's fair, it's community centric. We put so much time, so much energy into many things in life that are not tokenized, and therefore has value, but you essentially are not able to sell it, or not able to stake it, or not able to sell it, right? But we put so much time and so many effort in so many things, and yet the only value we perceive out of it, it's satisfaction, right? Or status or whatsoever, but it doesn't have a monetary one. The beautiful thing about crypto is just you put on top of that value, you put a money sign on it. You could exchange that value. And that's what the whole thing is about. Web3 is about tokenizing anything that gives value in the society. And that's how it's going to be probably, be played going forward. And anything could be potentially tokenized eventually. And this is something that is very important to see. And that's why I believe that, if you understand that sometimes you're like, oh, this token is worth nothing and is a piece of shit because it has no utility, I understand you. And I went through that. I completely went through that. But it's not that because it doesn't have any utility today, that it won't have utilities tomorrow. And that's something that's very important. SwissBorg, when we released the token, had this governance, vote out of it. But that's not the reason why it has all the utilities that it has today. If right now I'm asking you the question on, besides the layer 1 tokens, the different tokens that you have in your portfolio, how much time did you really use them? Probably a very small amount, so probably nothing. But you believe there's value in it because other people have seen there's value in it as well. And this is maybe the end of my talk here, is that at the end, we'll never know what's the most valuable investment. But the valuable investment is the one we care the most about, right? This was SwissBorg token, why I care about it, why it's on my watch. And while even on vacation, I'm having a talk because I do love you guys. I do have a strong bond with many of you. I do believe that we're on a path that will enlighten us into many different ways. I do believe we still have a long way to go. And this bull market, has favored, for now, let's say, mostly Bitcoin, a little bit, Ethereum right now. I mean, definitely Ethereum in the last days. Solana a lot, and some Solana tokens and some DePIN, but it's going to come to our time. And I think so our time should act now. Now we have all the nice weapons to bring the value, to show the world, to form our army, and to essentially show that we're bringing a lot of value to the Web3 ecosystem. How we're better than SEX, how we're able to hopefully soon have BorgPad and able to launch a lot of different great projects. Have fun with, of course, Borgi or other different projects that want to launch their token through that process. And be able with Galactica to have something that Web3 will, really be able to connect your souls into this space. How you're able to monetize your data in a better way. And finally, be able to freely own your property, your mind, your soul, and your legacy. As always, guys, from the lovely Ticino from here, much love to all of you. Be healthy, be wealthy. Love our Borg iniquity. Much love. Take care, guys. Bye.
Thank you for watching our weekly powwow episode. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to leave a like. And if you didn't, tune in next week anyway, so that you can figure out if it's better then. Bye.